This week, we go off of Matt's recommendation and check out a movie he said is hilarious, Vacation Friends. But do we agree? I'm Chad.
And I'm Matt.
And this is the 26th episode of our podcast. We used to talk about this at work. So, Matt, this is episode 26. Do you know what that means?
That means we've been doing this for a long time. We OGs in the game.
That is true. We've been doing this for half a year, man. Like, who would have thought? We say this every time we have a milestone episode, audience, and we're going to keep saying it. So deal with it.
Right, because there's times where I don't be wanting to do it from week to week. There's times where I'm like, they good listening off that episode from last week, but nah, we got to give y'all that good content. Y'all be waiting for week to week. So you're welcome.
So because this is another milestone, we have two very special guests with us this week. The first guest is your sister, Matt, and the second guest is my cousin, but she is the closest thing I have to a sister. So we're basically, we have our sisters on the episode. So we would like to introduce everyone to Laura.
Hey.
This is Matt's sister, and Bree.
Hello.
Yes. So that is my cousin / sister. So Laura, Bree, why don't you both tell us a little something about yourself, and then we'll proceed.
I'm Laura, Matt's sister, which is weird calling him Matt because I always call him Matthew. So anytime I listen to this and everyone calls him Matt, I'm like, who is that?
Hey, damn, because we gonna use a full government.
I guess your friends call you Matt, right? I mean, I know they do, but like we always call you Matthew, so it's just weird every time they're like Matt. But I still live in St. Louis, and I'm married with 2 kids. My husband's been on the podcast twice. His name is Steve. So the loyal listeners will remember that. I'm sure hopefully he mentioned me. I don't know if he did or not.
He's like, that girl I'm together with.
I am Brianna. I am Chad's sister cousin. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I do have a dog though.
What kind of dog you got?
I have a Rottweiler.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
I love all things technology, and I take great pride in the fact that I convinced Chad to switch from Android to Apple products.
Good job.
Yes.
My wallet does not thank you, Bree. So, Bree, before the show started, you were telling us about how you have you want to talk about how autumn is different as a adult versus when you were a child. Wait, what are you talking about?
So I was driving down the street yesterday, and I was like, man, the leaves are still green. It's mid-October. I was like, when we were kids, the leaves start to fall in like September. Mid-October, like it's cold. I was like, huh. And then today I was doing like a bunch of yard work. I was like, I need my grass cut. Like I need my bushes trimmed. Like everything's still growing. It would all be dead by now when we was younger. It's one of those things that really make you realize how things are actually changing. And everybody, not to be political and talk about like global warming.
Not to be political, but I'm gonna get political real quick.
No, but I'm all in favor for warm weather. But you just make you like look around and be like, man, like it's almost November. And both of my trees in front of my house are still green and like not a leaf has fallen. So
I mean, maybe you could thank industry for that, Bree. That you get to enjoy, you get to reap the benefits of summer still.
I'm enjoying it. I just want the kids to go out and trick or treat and still be a little warm and it'll be, super cold out. I'm rooting for them.
It needs to be cold. Remember when we used to go out, it was always cold for Halloween. And
it was.
Like that's what I'm hoping for. Like the other day, I was outside and I'm like, it's hot as shit outside. I'm like, it's okay because October's coming up. Wait, hold up. We're in the middle of October. Why the fuck is it so hot outside? So yeah, I'm rooting for cold. I love hoodie weather. So that's what I'm hoping for. Especially like you don't want to be trick or treating with your costume on, and it's like 85 degrees out. You sweating in the costume. So yeah.
I mean, I hear that, but I'm actually hoping for a warm October because, like, my daughter's Halloween costume is not layered, and so she's gonna be cold as a motherfucker if it's cold outside. Right? She's going as Moana, baby Moana.
Are you the Rock's character?
Oh, that's an idea. I should have done that, but no, I abstained. I was just like, shit. I got this $20 on this costume. Let's keep it moving.
No, don't you want to be one of those people on Instagram where like their daughter dresses up as a cute thing, and then the father's always there? Don't you want to get these likes on Instagram?
That's a fair point.
See, when I thought you said autumn, like now versus when we were kids, I didn't know you just meant the weather. I thought you meant like the activities that we participate in and things like that.
Well, Laura, won't you elaborate on that then? What's your thoughts about that?
Well, because like I have 2 young kids, so I feel like I'm always like this. Like last weekend, we went apple picking, and then this weekend it's going to the pumpkin patch, and so I feel like every weekend we're doing something like fall related, which I don't necessarily. I mean, Matthew, you remember us doing stuff like that when we were kids?
Fuck no, we didn't do none of that stuff. We didn't do none of that.
So I vividly remember the first year you came back after you'd been gone in the Navy, and it was in October, and you went to a pumpkin patch, I think by yourself, you and your wife, and you went to, you brought pumpkin back, and you were like, we're gonna carve pumpkins. Do you remember this? You said you were gonna like make it a tradition, like you were gonna do something every year because you didn't remember us doing stuff like that when we were kids. Do you remember that?
Not at all. But my memory is shitty. So if you said that happened, then I believe you. That sounds like something I might say.
So I'm gonna guess you didn't keep that tradition going. Is that what?
Every year we do that here. I mean, okay. no pumpkin
but we
patch.
didn't do that when we were kids. We didn't do that.
No. And I know my mother's going to listen to this episode, so she feels the need to rebuttal this and say that we did do this and we just got revisionist history memory.
Then come on the show, ma'am. Come on the show, ma'am.
Right, and then refute this.
No, she knows.
And did you do this?
For me?
Yeah, did you go pumpkin picking and stuff?
I've never been to a pumpkin patch a day in my life.
But now that you have a daughter,
if she were older, sure, but like she's 1, so I mean she's just gonna want to run around and shit and then get back in the car. Like if she's old enough if she's old enough to actually appreciate it, I would take her.
She's never gonna appreciate it. That's just what kids do. They don't appreciate anything.
100% true.
So speaking of these kids and parents and stuff, like how is parenting these days, Laura?
Like to me, well, I was thinking when we were talking about, Matthew brought up our mom and how she's like, come to the show if you want to. Me and her have conversations all the time about how she's different with my kids than she was with us. Like he takes my kids to the store, and like, for example, like my son will ask her to buy him something, and she's like, yes baby, yes pumpkin, anything you need, and he buys it. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, you became a grandma and all of a sudden, like, if anything goes, anything these kids want.
I'm saying, as soon as they become grandmother, all of a sudden now they got McDonald's money and we ain't got to eat what's in the house no more.
Yeah, they obviously like the grandchild more than they like us. Like, clearly. I went over my mom's house today, and she had like a whole bag of like Halloween gifts for her. She's like, oh, well, your daughter's too young for candy. So I've spent like almost $100 on these clothes and stuff. I'm like, what is this? Like, she bought her this jacket. It's a nice jacket, but it's a little too big for her. So the jacket's wearing her, and my daughter walking around looking like a fucking time traveler and shit. Like, what the fuck what are these clothes you bought her? She'll grow into them. Don't.
But yeah, so it's like when I was in the Navy, putting my life on the line every day for y'all freedoms out there. When my mother used to call, first she used to say is, "How's your son doing?" Damn, he ain't on the front. I ain't on the front line, but he ain't out there like I'm out there. At least ask how I'm doing first. But nah, everything's about him. How he doing? Does he need some new clothes? Does he what kind of toys he want? I want some new clothes. I want some toys.
He need a little money in his pocket.
I want some money in my pocket.
That's how she is. And it's worse when she's here with the kids. Because now she's working a little. Because she watched my kids a lot while I was working. And so now she works. She has a job now. So she's not able to be physically there. So now I feel like she feels the need to buy them more stuff. And that's how I'm sure she'll be like that with MJ, because he's out of the country right now. So, she likes to send gifts when she can't be there.
All right, well, I'm about to use that as a tool. I'm gonna be like, Mama, me being over in Japan and everything, and it's not the same. It's like I miss the time that we spend together and everything. I just don't feel the love anymore from you anymore.
Now it won't work for you, but if you were like MJ really misses you.
Can you send me some shoes?
There you go. I heard there's some new Jordans coming out, so
Right.
You gotta say MJ wants some new shoes.
I'm like, MJ wants these. MJ wants these size 11 Air Forces. All right. So I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and I'm glad we got multiple people on there and have this conversation. So how often does sex play into services, i.e., so like when you want, for example, a doctor or OB or anything like that, how the sex play a part? Are you like, I specifically want a female doctor, or I specifically want a male doctor, and vice versa, stuff like that? And
so I'm saying this to you too. I'm gonna cut this out. So as we all know, the year is 2021. Gender is a construct. So if this was 10 years ago, that sentence would be, does gender matter in obtaining services? But we cannot say gender. Gender reveal parties are not acceptable to say at this time. We say sex reveal parties. We are PC on this podcast. Let's go.
You should have kept that into it. Let them know that we woke on this podcast. But yeah, so I was thinking, like, because the conversation was where they were like, how or even something like simple as massages. Okay, so massages. Do you want like Chad, for example, say if you was getting a massage, would you want a man or a female to give you a massage?
I don't know, honestly. I've never gotten a massage before, but I would like to say, oh yeah, I want a woman to rub on me, but I don't know how my body would react to that, and so I don't know. Okay, that's a good question. Has anybody here gotten a massage before?
Yes.
Well, regular.
Laura?
Have not.
All right. So Matt, Bree, what is your preference?
I'll let Bree go first.
So I'm a regular massage person. I actually have an appointment this upcoming Wednesday. But I usually get women, but I think it's only women that work at the massage spot I go to. But I have gone to a different spot before and had a man once. And it was slightly awkward that it was a man because I was so used to just having women. So like usually when you get the full massage, like you take all your clothes off. Like I left my panties on because I'm like, I don't know, dude. But the massage was fine. But I was still like, I don't know, dude.
Right. So I've got a massage. Every time I got a massage, it was from a female. Not because that's what I prefer. Just when I went to those spots, it was always female. But the feet, like, it's not like I did it like off some sexual type of thing. It was a legit, she's doing her thing, massage, whatever, and it felt good, massage wise, not female wise. So, but I don't think I'll feel weird if a dude gave me a massage, because it's part of their job. They all learn it. But so Chad, would you feel some type of way if a guy gave you a massage?
I don't know, honestly. Like I said, I've never had like a professional massage before. Probably not, but I'm not sure.
I think the question is not would you feel, it's like, would you feel weird if it felt good? I think that.
Oh, is that the question?
Well, I mean,
If a man,
we can go down that road, but the massage is supposed to feel good.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's where I think like where they're saying, would it be weird if it was a man that made you have this
I mean, but that's his job. If I got a massage from a man and it was like awkward and like didn't make me feel good, like I wouldn't go back to that establishment again because like that person is a bad masseur.
Right. So I'm thinking, what are you doing here? Did you just walk in off the street and you want to
Right.
touch me? It's like, why are you here?
Did you
need
pay
to be
attention
good
at
your
massage school?
right.
Now,
So what about or go ahead, Chad.
yeah, I was gonna open it up to that. Like, so like doctors, for my primary care doctor, my current primary care doctor is a woman. I had a surgery a few years ago and I picked a woman surgeon.
Why?
She seemed nice. Like I was reading like the little bios of the different doctors.
So you didn't pick her because she's a woman, you picked her because of her credentials.
Correct.
So when I picked my primary care, I specifically looked for a woman.
Okay.
Now, why? I don't know. Just in my mind, I felt like a woman will be better.
I can see that. So I will say this, like I am currently in therapy and my therapist is a man and I specifically search for a man.
Okay, so that's different. Okay, if I was going through therapy, I would want a man, specifically a black man,
Yeah.
to
I have a
do
black man.
because for something like therapy, I would want somebody who can somewhat relate to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But if it's like, okay, going off that, something relate to. So, I mean, if y'all feel uncomfortable, y'all don't have to talk about this. But as far as like OB stuff, would you guys feel comfortable going to a man OB?
My OB is a man. I've only
Okay.
ever had a man OB before.
Interesting.
Was that intentionally or that's just the way it's been?
He's my mom's OB, so then it was just time for me to go. I just started going to him. And it's actually like not awkward at all. He's just older guy, funny, cracking jokes, and he'd be like, all right, see you next year. I'd be like, see you next year.
Wow,
Okay. Laura, what about you?
Had both. The same thing like with Bree. Like the first one I went to was my mom's, who was a man. And then when we moved, I had to find one. I happened to find a woman. So to me, it doesn't really make a difference. But I know there are women out there who prefer women.
Right, because it's like, since you're going to be looking at that area, that it's more, was it like, because they have one too, so they said they know it better type of thing, or just I'm more comfortable if I'm going to be showing, if I'm showing this, I'd rather show it to somebody who already has it to where there won't be no slightest kind of sexual thing to it.
I imagine that's part. You said both of your guys' primary care doctors are women though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, if you had something going on like with one of your male part,
if I came up in there like, Doc, I have an STD, but let's be cool.
Well, yeah. Well, Laura, I had a problem with my stuff going on, and I had to go do some things, and it was a female, but no, it was weird because I had to pull it out when it was soft, and I felt embarrassed, but it wasn't like me personally. I felt embarrassed, but it wasn't. It was like she's gonna be looking at me some type of way, but I still expected her to, like, her job wise. I was just like, if it would have been a dude at that time, I probably would have felt less embarrassed. But it wasn't like I'm about to change now because of a certain situation.
right?
You just have to look at it and be like, wow, this probably not the only one she didn't see today. She probably don't even care.
Right. And she didn't, because she lied to me. She was like, oh yeah, this stuff ain't gonna hurt, this and that. That shit fucking hurt. And I was like, she tell everybody this, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You said that to all the boys, huh?
Right.
So what's your Netflix recommendation?
So my Netflix recommendation of the week is called Oat Studio, OATS Studios. And it is kind of like Black Mirror, where each episode does not connect to the next episode. It's a standalone thing. And it's not animation, but like, some actors, like the first episode, Sigourney Weaver's in it. They do have like mainstream people in some of these episodes. Some are just CGI episodes. Some are like 8 minutes. Some are like 25 minutes. But I recommend it. It's a good watch. It's only like maybe like 8 or 9 episodes too, but it's all about post-apocalyptic type of stuff. Speaking of Netflix, so Chad, what do you? I heard you was watching Midnight Mass.
That's right, Matt. Thank you for that setup. Yeah, so this is the latest show from Mike Flanagan. If you have been following his stuff on Netflix, he's the creator of Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor. So this is his next show, Midnight Mass, and it's basically about how people can contort religion into anything that they want. Like they can justify them doing like very evil things if they're like, well, the Bible said XYZ, right? So this kind of
Does this take place in 2021?
it does.
All right, because that seems like right on par with what's going on in the world.
Yeah, and so like there's talk about like there's a really good scene about so this the show takes place on a small island off the coast of Massachusetts, I believe. And they have a Muslim sheriff. And in the little local schoolhouse, they have this debate because like they start to like pass Bibles out at the school, and he's like separation of church and state. And like there's this whole argument about like what is a Muslim, like what do they believe versus what does a Christian believe. And it's a very interesting conversation, a very interesting scene. And it's a good show. It's a good show. My biggest complaint about it is that it seems like everyone in the cast is like fighting each other for an Oscar. Sorry, everyone in the cast is fighting each other for an Emmy because there's just scenes that just stop so an actor can say a monologue. And like when it was first happening, like there was some really good stuff. Like this, one of the characters confronts someone who paralyzed her, and she has this amazing speech about like how like I want you to die, but that's too easy. Like along those lines. But then like there's another scene where this lady has this really beautiful monologue, and then the person that she says it to has a monologue, and then it goes back to that first person and she has another monologue all in the same scene. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here, people? But
man, they got to get their stuff in, man. Oscar season.
That's fair. But it's a good show. It's 7 episodes. They are HBO long, like they're over an hour. But it's a good show. I highly recommend it. It's a scary show. There are supernatural elements to the show, but I can't say what. But it has a really hard religious, like religious tent, but there's some supernatural stuff too.
Okay.
Also real quick, I want to mention a game that I'm playing currently on Switch called Trover Saves the Universe. This game was written and it is voiced by Justin Roiland, who is the voice of Rick and Morty from Rick and Morty. So like basically it's a Rick and Morty game where like he's doing all his voices, like all of his little like little riffs on things. It's a fun little game. It's on PlayStation, but it's a VR game on PlayStation. But on Switch, it's just a regular game. The gameplay is kind of weird because like you are controlling another player controlling a character. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a video game in a video game, but like with the comedy humor of Rick and Morty. You would love it, Matt. Trover Saves the Universe.
I'm looking it up now. All
right. So before we hit our movie, we are going to get canceled and talk about the latest Dave Chappelle comedy special, The Closer. So Matt, why don't you take the lead on this?
All right. So my first thoughts of Dave Chappelle, The Closer. The beginning jokes were kind of the word I described was like yikes. I was like, when he was talking about some of the stuff, talking about hitting women and stuff, and I was like, oh, and it was funny. Well, at that part, he was like, yeah, I'm going to go even deeper. And I was like, all right, so here we go. So I didn't start laughing and towards the end of it. And I get what he's trying to say. Like the example that people keep using right now on social media is where he says you can kill a guy in Walmart, but you can't hurt a transgender's feelings. That's where he was saying. So now, right now, you have like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the John Gruden stuff. Are you guys familiar with what's going on with that? All right. So John Gruden is a NFL coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. So they were the NFL is doing an investigation to the Washington football team's emails. So in all these emails, they ran across emails that John Gruden, at the time, he wasn't a coach then, he was an analyst. But basically, he was talking about the Players Association's president, Demora Smith, which is a black dude, saying now his lips are like the Michelin tire, whatever. So he was talking about the black man like that, and then his excuse, not an excuse, I shouldn't say that. His reason for that was saying like, rubber lips, he's lying type of thing. Nothing happened with him for that, as far as him saying that. And then you had old black players from him, come up saying, oh, he's never said anything about that to me, this, and that. Fast forward a couple days later, then he got emails where John Gruden was he said basically, fuck it. I talked about black people. I'm going to list everything else. He talked about Michael Sam being the first openly gay player drafted. He talked about how basically female referees ain't shit. He talked about all this stuff. And then he got, then quote unquote things happened. He resigned from his position. So that goes back to what Dave Chappelle was saying. Well, when he talked about a black man, it was fine. But then when he went through and started talking about other people and classes, or other people's stuff, that's when he resigned, but that's when the pushback became heavy.
I mean, I just watched it yesterday, and like I was like you in the beginning, I was like, yikes, that's a good word. It was pretty extreme. And then I think in the middle, like I thought stuff was funny. And then I think that's his point, though. His point was like, and it was specifically the baby Matthew who shot someone at Walmart. But he's like, you can shoot someone at Walmart, and specifically he was like, nothing happened to his career, but when he went on his whole rant or whatever, he that's when he's like, you can't hurt someone's feelings from that community. But I think that was Dave Chappelle's point. But yeah, I did go back and afterward, and I think the biggest thing to me was when he had his friend, he told that story about his friend who
Daphne.
Yeah, who that was like shocking to me, that like, he told, it was like a great moment in the show, and he's like how she was on this high from when she opened up for him, and then he was like out of nowhere, he's like, he talks about her committing suicide. And I was just like, wow, like you didn't see that coming in the special. But I think he was trying to make his point about how, like, when you quote get canceled, and how like people just come for you.
Bree, what was your thoughts?
The same opinion. The beginning, I was still like, yikes. But I think I also kind of looked at it differently because I had actually just refinished watching the Chappelle show like the same day that I watched it. So then in my mind, I'm thinking Chappelle show, Chappelle. And then I saw that and I was like, okay, so this is different. Got the gist of it for sure. Agree that, what his point that he was making, he just went about it, making it in a very strong way. And I don't like that he used the baby example. Black people are getting killed in like greater rates for nothing versus like a fight in Walmart. And I'm also a Megan Thee Stallion fan, and we are not giving the baby no attention. That he needs extra.
I was about to make a joke about Tory Lanez, but I won't. I'll leave that out now. All right, Chad, go ahead. What's your thoughts about it?
I mean, we're all going to be saying very similar things. Like, I agree. Like, I don't normally listen to comedy specials anymore. And as I've said many times, the last couple of weeks, I am only watching things for real that I have to watch for the show. So I'm watching it and it starts off and I'm like, oh, Okay. We just coming out swinging with stuff, huh? Like, I'm not laughing at this. I'm like, as we've all said, yikes.
Right.
And so as it went on, like, there were a couple of jokes that I had some laughs at, but like, yeah, like, I agree. At the end of the day, he's comparing apples to oranges on some of these things. And to a point, I hear him about like, yes, like if it gets to the point of like being quote unquote canceled and the recipient of that commits suicide, or like it has any negative impact on their mental health, then yeah, fuck that. But I don't really like it when millionaires are complaining about cancel culture. Like me, like he basically said, like, me, a normal person being canceled is very different from him, like a rich person to be canceled. But who is he to really talk about that? Like, he's not going to experience it like us.
Right.
So I don't know. I just get kind of, I get so fucking tired of seeing these articles about all these older comedians complaining about cancel culture and shit. And yet you don't really hear any of the younger ones complain about that.
Don't you think that's because the newer ones are worried about being canceled and they're not as extreme as the older ones? Like, they grew up in this, they became famous during cancel culture. So they're like, let me not go too far. And these older comedians are like, no, like, that's how we always been. We're going to keep being like that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, these older comedians are, in my opinion, fighting tooth and nail to keep it the old way. It's just like, how we will fight for equality and stuff, and there's certain segments that don't want things to change. Like, things have to change. That's the way of life. So comedy has to kind of like pivot a little bit. You can't make jokes talking about gay people. You can't make jokes talking about like the trans community. And this isn't me attacking Dave Chappelle specifically. I'm just saying, like, things that were funny like 20 years ago are not, or the 90s are not acceptable now. Like, everything has to adjust. Everything has to like kind of flow. And so, like,
the older comedians that are like sticking their heels in and being like, no, we're comedians, we can say what we want. That's right. The issue.
Yeah. I don't know if I think it was, I might be wrong, but it was an older comedian, maybe Chris Rock, or I forget who said it, but he was saying that how if you cannot change your comedy with the times, then you're not really funny.
Right.
Because if I have to rely on gay jokes and stuff like this that was funny in 2000 and that was 2021, if I have to rely on this kind of stuff to get a reaction, then I'm not funny. There is plenty of COVID jokes or like up-to-date stuff that you could do.
Like, there are so many good jokes about like how like apps are pieces of shit.
Right. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff you can do, some mass jokes or whatever, quarantine jokes. There's plenty of other stuff that you could do that's up to date.
Well, I'm going back to COVID.
Well, I'm just saying, but doesn't have to do with somebody's identity. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Something that everybody has to deal with.
I looked up the article because it was so controversial. Well, I looked up his special because I heard it was so controversial. And I read different like articles from different people. Like, there's some comedians who are trans, and like, yeah, it made sense. They were basically kind of saying what you're saying. They were like, we make jokes, and they're like, you're still telling jokes like that people would have told back in like the 90s and the 80s, and they're like, basically you need to just like, if you're relying on that to get laughs, then that's the problem. I don't think that's necessarily what Dave Chappelle was trying to do, but it did. The whole special was kind of centered around community. So
this week we discuss Vacation Friends.
Everywhere they go,
Fuck you, baby face little bitch!
chaos happens. This weekend is all about you.
Well, I like the sound of that. We do too.
Jesus. Why does the salt not taste salty?
Oh, because it's cocaine.
What? We actually brought it from home. Very, very easy if you ever want to try it. It's just a Ziploc and a full shampoo bottle.
And it's so much more comfortable than when I had it in my ass. Put that bottle on your head.
Babe, he's not serious. We've been drinking.
Count it!
You hit the bottle this time!
What the fuck?
A couple meets up with another couple while on vacation in Mexico, but their friendship takes an awkward turn when they get back home and crash the other couple's wedding. So, what did you guys think of Vacation Friends?
I actually liked it. I thought it was funny. I will say I was very hesitant because my mom watched it. She said it was funny. So that usually means it's not funny.
Oh, that's a bad mark right there.
So, but it was good. I like Lil Rel. You know, sometimes he kind of corny, but he was like the right amount in this movie, so I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Like when I wasn't expecting it to be, but yeah, I thought it was hilarious. And I don't really have a lot of background with Lil Rel, but yeah, when she said like he did kind of come off a little corny, but like it fit the role. And like John Cena, I only seen in like a handful of movies, which I'm like leery of. I'm like, the new rock kind of thing. Like,
Right.
but he was all right. Like all together it worked out to where everything was funny. But yeah.
So overall, I liked the movie. I felt like it was smart. And then when the credits were on, I saw that John Francis Daly wrote this. Has anybody on the line seen Freaks and Geeks?
No.
So he is an actor, but he's like written some really good shit. Like specifically, he wrote Spider-Man Homecoming, and he's part of the reason why that movie's so good. And something that I like about his writing is that he'll take a concept and then like subvert a lot of the tropes in it. So specifically with this, you've got the whole button-up couple meets a wild and crazy couple, right? And then like they kind of play with some stuff. Like normally in these kind of stories, the button-up couple, the husband is usually just like hyper aware of all the crazy shit that's happening, and the wife's like, oh, it's okay, just let it go. But like in this one, the wife, old girl from Insecure, she was like, no, these motherfuckers crazy too. I like how like they had that scene where Lil Rel is like high, and in a lesser comedy, he would have killed that dog.
Oh yeah.
But he didn't hear. And in that scene where they're outside the pawn shop with the rings, and they have that like Final Destination Rube Goldberg situation where you're like, what the fuck is gonna, like, we all know the joke. Like the movie's like, audience, we know you know the joke. He's going to drop the ring. But like that anticipation and that build up to where it's like, all right, the joke isn't we know it's gonna happen. The joke is how is this gonna happen?
Yeah.
And so like it was very smart in those regards. The only thing I could truly fault this movie for is that it couldn't figure out a way to avoid the unnecessary trope of the two couples having the falling out. Like the only way the movie saw its way out of that is to like save it for the last 5 minutes, and then they're mad at each other for literally 5 minutes, and then they make up. Like that's the only way the movie could figure out how to avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish that they could have like figured out a way to not have done that, or done it, but it not have like brought the movie to a screeching halt. But I really liked it. So kind of weird seeing financially well off Black people doing a fox hunt. That was
like the weirdest scene to me. I'm like, I don't know. I thought they should have did something else. Like,
yeah.
I
So
liked
like,
it.
so when the last time you've been out to the country club on the fox hunt? Also,
Never.
all these Black people at the country club.
But that's what I like about it.
It was just normal. Like,
yeah, that's what I like. Because usually in movies, when it's like rich Black people, they do, stereotypical rich Black people things. Like they had some lavish house with a whole bunch of lavish cars. There was one lavish car, and they were doing more uppity rich people things instead of just being, yeah.
Right, Chad? Because just because you ain't at these clubs, because your money ain't that high up, you don't know what's going on. That they've been doing that. You just not used to it.
I'm not used to it.
Exactly. Stack your paper up.
So, like, my only question, and I'm not expecting anybody to know this, was I wonder if in an earlier draft of the script, the races were flipped to where that's why they had all that country club stuff.
I mean, it could be, or it could be just like, this is what rich people do, is they do this regardless of race. So this is where it's at. So, I mean, like I told you before, Chad, I love this movie. I thought this movie was fucking hilarious. I was like, I still love the part where he was like, why is this salt not salty? Oh, that's because it's cocaine. He's like, what? Why you didn't tell me it was cocaine? He's like, I thought I did. I told you it will get the job done. He's like, what does that mean? That's very ambiguous. So yes, I love this movie.
And then after that part, Matthew, when they were like, he's like, I don't do drugs, and they're like, even on vacation?
Right. But I love this movie. And I like how you said, Laura, like the Rock John Cena thing, but like I like how John Cena is taking an approach more like Batista, to where basically the Rock is a Rock in every movie.
Right.
Minus the ones he did early on when he was like the Tooth Fairy stuff, but like mainstream Rock is basically the Rock in every movie, where you have like Batista and John Cena who are branching out to different type of stuff. So
is that true? That's what I didn't know. I haven't seen a lot of John Cena movies, but to me, he did seem the same in a lot.
I'm with Laura on this one, because like the last thing I saw John Cena in was Suicide Squad, and basically this was Peacemaker without the killing in Vacation Friends.
In Fast 9, there was no comedy stuff.
I never seen that.
Okay, well, the newest Fast 9 movie, it was no comedy stuff. I think it's more. Okay,
that's not a comedy though. Like that's why there was no comedic stuff. He's still like this. I don't know. To me, he's kind of the same in every movie, like very Rock-esque, if you will.
I mean, I think, and it's interesting that you brought up Batista, because like there's no arguing that Batista can act, but he doesn't always get the opportunity to act. So like he showed off his acting skill in Blade Runner 2047, yes. But then like in every other thing I've seen Batista in, he's just been that hardcore action man, like Army of the Dead. He's kind of had a little bit of comedy stuff in Guardians of the Galaxy. What's that? Stuber? Some stupid comedy. Like what is the comparison here, Matt?
No, I just feel like where it's not just not a superhero, but it's not just like a
action hero.
Yeah, an Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rambo type of thing with Batista in his roles. That's what I feel like.
Okay.
The same like for John Cena.
Right, because think of because has The Rock ever not been in an action movie? Like all of his movies are action movies, right?
He was in Moana.
But yeah, like as himself, he's always been in action movies where like John Cena has been in movies as a comedic role, just as a comedian. Like he was in a movie with Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, and he was like no action. It was just a comedic role. This one,
what movie was this?
Was it The House? No, that's what I don't know. It's Tina Fey and Amy Poehler in it, and John Cena sells them drugs. But
he's not. Is he really a major role in there?
No, I'm just naming everything that he's been in. I'm saying like everyone, like it's not always just action. Like he's been in just like for example, this one was just a comedic role. Where Suicide Squad was action and comedy, where every single Rock's one is an action movie with some kind of comedy stuff in there.
I mean, Moana wasn't an action movie.
Well, besides the animation one.
So like Central Intelligence, The Rock's in, it's funny, but there's still that action.
Right.
I mean, you got Pain and Gain. That was,
I like Pain and Gain too, yeah. But and also like he was in what's the movie with John Travolta? Not Get Shorty. When he was gay.
I know what you're talking about.
Right. Okay. There was no action in that, and it was just comedy. But like the mainstream star we know is always action and comedy, which is fine. But I think cool. Like be cool. Yeah. So I liked him in that. I really liked him in that. But I think The Rock knows what works. So he sticks with what works. where Batista have already said, like somebody asked him on Twitter where he want to work with The Rock. And basically, in not these certain words, he was like, no, because he wants to be a more quote unquote actor. He wants to be known for his acting stuff, not just action stuff.
Okay.
So yeah. I don't know how we got on all that. But yeah, back to it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Good movie. I feel like you could watch it you could always pop it in anytime. I think it'd be funny no matter when you watch it. I like Lil Rel. I like Molly.
Not the drug.
Learn her name.
I will. If you listen to this podcast, we don't do no research, which we should, but we don't do no research.
I do research.
Chad does research. I don't do any research.
yeah. I listened to those episodes Matt hosted.
Right. There was no research involved in that. But yeah, I don't know who John Cena's wife was. Like,
what about King Bash, Matthew? What do you think about okay?
I got a question for you guys. Did anybody think that King Bash's character was going to come out as gay by the end of it?
With that other guy, right?
Right, with the karate instructor.
Yeah, it was very I got that vibe too.
It was too broy.
Like, I don't know where they were going with that.
That's what I thought the conclusion of that sequence was going to be, that it's going to be revealed that they were a couple.
I didn't, but now that you mention it, I guess so. But no, I didn't think about that at all.
It's just like Luca.
Yeah, right. Hey, sometimes I'm blinded to something something out to me.
Did you see anything like that, Brie?
No, did not put that together at all.
Okay, I well, me and Laura, our third eye was open. All right.
You just bring this friend to your sister's wedding, and then the whole point, it made it seem like he was supposed to be there when things went down if they had to fight, but when he punched him, he was nowhere to be found. So it's wasn't that your sole goal there, was to be there when that?
I mean, he was upset that he lost his car.
Yeah.
But he gave it back to him, though.
Well,
we don't know the sequence of events. We don't know if he had time to give it back to him yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because it got wrecked, too. That's right. Yeah.
All right. So what do you all think the Rotten Tomatoes is on Vacation Friends?
A 98%.
I'm going to say it's 75%.
I'm going to say closer to I'm going to go with 82.
60%.
Wow.
Did these people actually watch the movie?
70 reviews. It's a 53% audience score.
Wow, that's that low?
Yep. So this week's trivia. Of the following actors, who was not attached to star in this movie at one point? Who was not attached? A, Chris Pratt. B, Will Smith. C, Mark Wahlberg. D, Ice Cube.
Will Smith.
Is the question they were not supposed to be in this movie?
Yeah. Three of these actors at one point were going to be in this movie.
Oh, Will Smith. They can't afford Will Smith.
Mark Wahlberg.
All right. So this movie was announced for the first time in 2005 with Nicolas Cage and Will Smith in the lead roles. When it was delayed several times, both stars dropped out. Chris Pratt and his former spouse Anna Faris and Ice Cube were all once attached to this movie. So the answer is C. Mark Wahlberg at no point was attached to be in this movie.
Interesting.
So they were
so this was not. Was this an HBO movie?
This is remember, this is a Fox movie.
Okay.
All right, so I got one piece of trivia. In September 2021, 20th Century Studios announced that a sequel titled Honeymoon Friends is in development. Ooh.
I figured.
Yeah. All right. So, that brings us to the end.
You just told me that was just a statement more than
what now?
You have one more piece of trivia. You just kind of made a statement.
Yeah, that's the trivia.
That's not trivia.
No, we have trivia. We have trivia game, which was that question, and then we have trivia dump, which was that.
You say so.
It's a. So we're at coming to a close. Laura, do you have anything you'd like to plug, Miss?
No.
Bree, what are you plugging this week, ma'am?
We're gonna plug coming to my spin class, but then I'm gonna come back to your show and you guys do Insecure, and then I'll have an actual location for people to come spin.
So, do you actually have anything to plug if there is nowhere for these people to go?
Yeah, so they can start to mentally get ready because you're coming to my spin class. Laura's coming.
So yeah, like
Matt's
a link.
coming when he comes back.
I do want to try spinning.
So is there a link or anything that I could put in the show notes?
Yeah, I can get you a link.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Bree has spent. Bree is a spinning instructor. Look
All right,
out.
what is the name so they know what's the name of it going to be?
First, it'll be at a place called But First, You.
Like
but
ass?
first you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Matt.
It's called but first you.
Oh,
B-U-T.
it's a pun because you sit on your butt and spin. I got you. That's smart.
I didn't do that. But okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll put that information in the show notes. Thank you, ladies, so much for being on. We're not going to do that bullshit of we'll see how the ratings go. Obviously, you guys are family, so you'll be back, even if this episode is shit.
Well, we have to come back for Insecure.
Yeah, you keep saying that. Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys,
sure.
I mean, we don't really review TV shows, but you keep saying that.
What was the first thing you reviewed?
Concrete Cowboys.
No, that wasn't TV.
We've
this
never
is special though. It's the last season of Insecure. I mean, we're all gonna watch it, obviously.
Yeah.
Matthew, do you watch Insecure?
I've seen the first.
Here we go.
2 seasons.
I've seen the first season.
You just stopped? Like,
well,
no,
no,
I watched
because,
it when it first came out. So, you know
Yeah,
how they had
then-
that gap.
Right, and then I'm over here. They don't got HBO and stuff. So, well, okay.
pretty sure there's HBO Max and Go. Like, you could watch it online. But,
Yeah. So thank you, ladies, for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
thank you for having us on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
For family night.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for listening. Please rate, like, and review our podcast on your platform of choice. If you have any feedback, please email us at weusedtotalkpod@gmail.com. Like our Facebook page, We Used to Talk About This at Work, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at We Used to Talk Pod. So we will be back next week for the second part of our Halloween special with Chris. So look out for that, where we talk about Halloween 5 through 8. Yeah.
And I don't know if this was a good episode. I don't know if this was a good episode. I don't know if this was a bad episode. But whatever you think about it, talk about it at work. Thank you. And we are done. Good job, everybody.
That is an interesting closing, man.
Hey, man, it took me a while to think of that.